Hey everyone, Greg Staley from Diverge Media. How are you?
I'm good. You?
I mean, if I'm gonna be honest, rough night, really rough night.
Yeah.
I
We start
don't.
on that.
Sorry.
I said, why don't we start on that?
Yeah, I feel like it would be good to get off my chest. So I'm just gonna move this in a little bit closer, everyone. Um, so obviously a lot of chaos going on down south, and we're gonna be talking about that tonight. But for the sake of, I guess, my sanity, I'm going to tell you a little story that happened tonight, and I'll start by reading from our complaint to the human rights, or not human rights, the bylaw authority here in Waterloo region. I think that's who we reported to. Hey, Tim, good to have you in. So
You did.
basically, we were refused service today at DiPietro in Cambridge and Glamis. We were told no mass, no service. This is a local small grocery store family chain. Me and my wife were there with my daughter, my baby, 8 months old, and we were being told that we were not allowed to buy groceries for our family. It ended with, okay, I guess I'll do my best to walk through this without getting overly emotional. We went to the counter to get meat and took her number, and the young girl noticed my wife didn't have a mask, said, "Ma'am, you need a mask. We don't serve people without a mask." And she seen me without a mask and then basically said, "We're not going to serve you at all." And in the process of this going on, there's probably like a 20, 21-year-old guy. I basically just said, like, I started, I said, "Are you familiar with the bylaw?" I have the conversation recorded. Actually, I can send that to text. I think I can do that now.
No, it's in the drive.
No, yeah, I know it's in the drive. Let me pull it up and I'll read the text of what happened. Sorry, everyone. I just didn't plan on really talking about it, but it's bothering me. And yeah, so I'm gonna send it to you. Why is that up as a memo text?
From what I heard, it was. I thought you were at Walmart for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, so I actually I thought I handled it better than I thought I would. Truthfully, I thought, when it was going on, I thought to myself, I actually prayed before I went in and said, "God, don't, let this be okay. I don't want problems. So just let us be able to grocery shop." And it sounds so silly that would be what I pray for, but it's gotten to the point where it's a problem everywhere we go. And so I said, "Hey, are you guys aware that, like, they're refusing us service at this point?" And so are you guys aware that the bylaw and is includes the human rights code? I literally pulled out the bylaw, read it to them, and the young man literally had the audacity to say, "Don't read that. You're working yourself up more." And I basically said to him, "No, I'm worked up because I'm being refused service. And you're telling me, like, I don't have groceries right now, and now I got to wait 7 days, however long it takes on one of those orders." And they had literally told me at the counter that they've refused people with oxygen tanks. Like, this is where we're at. And so I said, "I would like to speak to the manager." No manager there. So I said, "I want his number. I want to call him." And then, so basically, I'll just fast forward this here. Like, hey, you're supposed to honor it. You're not allowed to really ask about the exemption. My wife has syncope. She's pregnant, which means fainting spells. And personally, I've almost been jumped. I've told you multiple times in Peru. And I get really anxious if I can't see out of my, like, around me. And so, again, it doesn't look like somebody that would have a disability or you would claim. And there's other grounds to, not wear it on, including conscience, freedom of conscience. And I'll go into what's happened with Randy Hillier here on the violation for getting together, because he's in court limbo now. They're so backed up with complaints. So I just said, I just want to get my groceries. But in the midst of this commotion, there's like a young 21-year-old kid, bearded, ironically, trying to virtue signal to me and anyone else standing loud, near enough to hear him screaming or yelling at me and my wife. Like, shame on you, you effing conspiracy theorists. Like, it's because of you, people are effing dying. Literally looked at my pregnant wife, told her to go fuck herself. My daughter's right there. And it ended with, I apologized up and down because I got worked up. And I actually think I did a pretty good job, Kate. Like, keeping composure.
I listened to it. And, yeah, you were pretty calm for the majority of that.
You know me. And for me, that was like, that could have went a lot differently. And I think if Kate hadn't been there, I don't know that I'd be giving you the live stream tonight. I might be in in a jail somewhere awaiting trial. This guy berated me and my wife for a better part of probably 10 minutes. 8, 10, 12 feet away. Constantly like, get the F out of here, you piece of shit. On and on and on it went. And ironically, my daughter starts grabbing at my wife's phone before all that. You can hear the beginning of the recording on her phone of where he starts in on us. But it went on for a long time, and it ended up with, we got to be able to do our groceries only because I stood firm. I just basically said, I just want to get my groceries. And I think the woman, or the young lady behind the counter, she ended up breaking down into tears. And she said to me, "Oh, Tim, I wanted to." You can ask my wife. I just dropped the bucket. I wanted to. If for people that don't know much about, I do have martial arts experience. I've had 3 different fights in the gym. I'm comfortable in combat. I'm not worried about that. And I had about 100 pounds on this kid. And I know how to hurt someone if I had to hurt someone. And I don't want to ever do that.
He beats me.
And this kid just did not relent. And it went on for like 10 minutes. And to tell my wife to go F herself.
Even the guy behind the counter said, just ignore him.
Yeah, even the guy behind the counter, is telling, like, he didn't agree with us, by the way, the kid behind the counter, and he's telling him to leave us alone. It got to the point where both employees were telling this young guy, ironically with a beard, so he's virtue signaling about the mask, which I said, I literally looked at him, and he looked like a deer in the headlights when I said this. I wish my phone cut out at 10 minutes audio for whatever reason. I always go in with my phone recording now because you never know what's going to happen in 2020 or 2021. And it cut out at 10 minutes, but he's ironically telling me that I need, to wear the mask. And he's got a beard and the mask is like out like this, all puffed out. And all I should have said to him, if you're really concerned about helping others, maybe you should trim the beard or get rid of the beard altogether, because that's not a tight seal and you're not helping anyone. But he, on and on, about 10 minutes of this, and to the point where I said to the lady behind the counter, I said, "I'm sorry. I didn't want this to happen. I'm sorry that you're emotional. I didn't mean for this." And he, from down the counter, like 8, 10 feet away, he's like, "You're not sorry, you piece of shit." And he starts coming in at us again. And it's like, and I literally looked down at him. Like when I give my dad stare, like I'm about to kill someone.
Yeah,
I literally looked at him, like stared through him. And I just said, enough. Like in my head, it's, I give credit, to God, because I don't know. You don't need to believe that. But me and my wife were bickering about who would go grocery shopping. I didn't want to go. I get so anxious about going out now that I don't like going anywhere. And so we bickered about it back and forth and decided we would both go because she's pregnant and, she has her syncope episodes and, we'll take our youngest daughter with us and I'll go. And so I don't know if I would be here getting the live stream tonight, and I'm kind of ashamed to say that. Like, I should be able to keep my cool better. But if she was not there, I might be in prison tonight. I'm not a violent person. I've been told off before, for the record. And this was, I've had somebody tell me, like, go F yourself. That's not new. Like, this has been happening since all this crap began. You know, this guy took it to a whole nother level. It was like 10 minutes of berating, a complete assault by the legal definition. It was assault. You know, he didn't put a hand on us, but there is a verbal assault in there, and that was verbal assault. And it ended with the employee ending up in tears and me apologizing up and down. And I just said, like, this is what the bylaw says. And I say all that to say we got, you know, the email from bylaw, because I think this will be an educational component of tonight. So they're giving us the runaround. But I do think I'm going to file a human rights complaint. That's the only recourse I have. You want to help with those forms, you know, you can send us a donation. I'm not trying to solicit money, but it does cost money to do this stuff. So I'm just going to read this and then we'll go on. So the region of Waterloo face covering, this is from the bylaw here in Waterloo. Face covering bylaw and provincial reopening act is silent on whether or not a business may refuse entry to a person. Silent. They have no comment. Who is not wearing, let me finish, sorry, it's 3 paragraphs here. Who is not wearing a face covering. In other words, both laws do not state anything on the matter. That's bull, and we'll get into that here in a minute. The region of Waterloo face covering bylaw does prohibit public places from demanding proof of a medical exemption from wearing a face covering. For example, a monitor at the door of a supermarket. It's prohibited from demanding a doctor's note to know the specific nature and medical reason. There's no need to say, example, like I have asthma. If you feel your rights, and this is, I don't even know that he would have said this. But he said, if you feel your rights under the Ontario Human Rights Code have been violated, you may file a complaint in writing before the Ontario Human Rights Tribunal. There's more information in the following link. I don't know that he would have even sent that link had my wife not said this is a human rights violation in the email. So I'll let you comment, and I'm going to pull up the human rights code so we can educate some people here that I'm sure have gone through similar things at this point in time.
I was gonna say initially they flip-flop basically on what was initially the mask bylaw, but then they still went into it there. But I don't like the fact that they've made it up to businesses to determine this.
And this is the common fallacy on this. Sorry, continue.
Even my own manager where I work, I didn't really get into a debate with him, but I was kind of prodding a little bit the one day. I think I said this on a previous live stream, but he said, you know, since it's private property, like you gotta, you know, we have the right to say otherwise or refuse service. Yet they don't do jack about it when it comes to my location.
So I'll say this right now. You don't have the right as a business operating to the public to refuse entry, and we'll go into that now. So we pull up the human rights code here. So the bylaw is subject to the human rights code. Okay. I'll pull up the bylaw after.
Bylaw changes per region.
Bylaw changes they're always subject to the human rights code. It's always subject to the human rights code. Don't let anybody try to convince you otherwise. Okay. Part 1, freedom from discrimination. Pretty straight into it, I'd say. That seems relevant. Every person has a right to what? Equal treatment with respect to what? Services, goods, and facilities. You can't trespass somebody because you feel like it. And this would be the equivalent of like, yeah, we're not going to serve black people now. Well, that's not what we meant. Well, no, and you just said masked people. So, you know, you're just picking and choosing arbitrarily or unmasked people. You don't get to do that. Everyone has a right. Services, section 1. Okay, every person has a right to equal treatment with respect to services, goods, and facilities without discrimination because of race, ancestry, place of origin, color, ethnic origin, citizenship, creed. Creed is a strongly what? Held belief. So even if they didn't want to acknowledge anything else, I have a very strongly held belief based on all the data I've covered extensively for the last 7 months that goes through all this. And we'll come back to it. We'll get through our regular programming, and I'll hit on this again. I'm sorry, everyone. I didn't mean to go through this, but I've been flustered. So creed, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, age, marital status, family status, or disability. So if you're claiming exemption and you have a disability, my wife has a disability. Now, does that mean my doctor would give it? No, because we actually have him recorded on phone calls saying that he knows that something that she has a medical history with, he refused to write a note for. He admitted the Ontario Physicians College was pressuring him, I believe. I can't say for sure.
Group of doctors.
They said a group of doctors are advising not to. Whatever that means. But he basically even admitted on the call, I think, I'd have to go back and listen, that there would be grounds to pursue wrongful, or what was it? Basically not honoring his oath.
Tim saying you can in a licensed establishment. Does that mean you can refuse, or what are you saying, Tim?
Go back here. Sorry, the loophole. You can in a licensed establishment, not quite. So if they were going to do that, my understanding is that you would have to refuse that to everyone in the scenario. So, okay, I don't want non-mask people, so you would have to refuse all. And this stuff's backing up the courts right now, and the human rights tribunals are backed up right now. You can't trespass somebody because they're not wearing a mask. That's not how this works. They can, they do, and they have, and they will continue to. And the court system's backed up, so who knows how long it would take to actually hear these things. But no, I have my law textbooks and stuff, but you can't. If you're open to the public, and the bylaw says, again, they're silent on it for a reason, because it's a violation of the Human Rights Code. So a creed, we pull up the definition of a creed here. It's up to the owner of discretion of the owner or an agent hired by the owner for no reason. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I guess I'll find out if I pursue it, but I don't believe that's the case. My understanding is that it's subject to the Human Rights Code. A creed is a formal statement of religious belief, confession of faith, a system of belief, principles, or opinions. So, again,
I find it, if there is that loophole Tim's talking about, or whatever.
I really don't think there's a loophole on. Okay, so here's the thing. Like, you have Section 1 of the Charter, right? It's the notwithstanding clause everybody likes to talk about. And now they can do that if they go through the proper government channels and they get signed off on, which has happened. They can take away your rights. Okay, fun fact. But then when it gets challenged in court, they have to meet the Oakes proportionality test. I wrote on this in the Reopening Ontario Act. What are my rights, or what are your rights? And they have to meet the Oakes proportionality test, which says it's proportionate. Sorry, everyone. Which says it's proportionate to the effect, what they're trying to accomplish, and that basically it's the most reasonable limit on your right that they could find. And to say, like, for example, how can you say that you're looking for it's a proportionate thing when all the small businesses need to close and they can operate in distance probably better than most box stores? I would argue almost all of them. So that's not a proportionate thing. That doesn't meet the Oakes proportionality test. But here's where we're at, in my opinion, in Canada, is from what I know, the courts are backed up. And so all these challenges are months and months and months down the road. And so it's almost like the can keeps getting kicked down the road. And that's kind of where you're at. Now, it might be different in Saskatchewan on bars, because you don't have, if you're intoxicated, I don't know where, this might be a different conversation here, Tim. I'm not sure. Again, the mask argument is completely different. And here's the fundamental difference. When you go to a court of law, you could say, hey, Greg was a danger. He was drunk in a bar, and I didn't trust what he was doing. Now, on the mask thing, when I go to court, I'm going to say in 2018, the Ontario Nursing Association set a court precedent. Here's what the arbitrators in 2015 and 2018 said they were ineffective and the evidence was not substantial at best. And then I'm going to go, here's studies from 1975 all the way up to 2011 that I've written about in the past, if you've read our work, that kind of go, hey, the masks don't provide any benefit or it's marginal at best. And then and they even say the word medical dogma, like it's medical dogma, it's accepted everywhere. There's not a lot of proof that it does harm in short periods, which is what they're talking about, controlled environment, short periods. But there's also not a lot of proof it does help, so we just keep wearing it just in case. But there's actually studies that show the bacterial unit count, I forget, there's a technical term that they use, was less or was relative to either mask or not mask. It didn't matter. And then they showed less infections through the unmasked group, likely because not every case, but in some of the studies, because they likely aren't touching the face and touching, like you have something on your face, there's worry across contamination. As a server bartender, I watch carefully in order to protect the business. Yeah, and that's your duty as a server bartender, is you can't overserve, and because you have a liability. Sorry?
Somebody's being violent or belligerent, yes, you do have the right to ask them.
Yeah. There's a difference, right? Is like if you're being violent, belligerent, or you're intoxicated, and you could be a harm to someone else if you're continuing to be served, then yeah, your rights aren't being violated by being kicked out. But now on the mask thing, now you have to prove it's actually beneficial. And when we have, so what you'd say, like there's all of this stuff I just mentioned, but then we could also go, Dr. Tam, yeah, you'd be charged if you're overserved. Yeah. And Dr. Tam, as an example, in April, masks aren't effective in preventing transmission. Don't worry about it. We need these for our medical care. And then they're like, oh, no. What's the study that changed that? So did they lie blatantly because they were short on PPE? Or did they actually have a study to overturn it? And then it's like they don't even care what the covering is in most places. So all these things have to meet the Oakes proportionality test. It has to be reasonable and proportionate and provable. It has to be factual. And so I don't think any of them pass the test, but I guess you'll find out. And my thought process is, if you go to court, a judge is not going to help you. I would imagine most judges probably buy into the narrative hook, line, and sinker. So you would have to walk in with all your ducks in a row. You'd have to walk in. Here's the medical studies. Here's the court case references. Here's everything, like da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And if you didn't have that, they're probably going to throw it out. Unbelievable that some clown would say that crap in front of you and your wife and kids. I just had my one daughter. The other two were at grandma's, which was probably for the best, because my daughter would have been shooken up. She's a lover.
I find it funny that stores like the big one that's open all the time. I won't say it because I want to get into the rip on it a little bit. I worked there, but I find it funny that they've had that policy, and you hear it when you're shopping there. Ever since August, whatever, our policy is that all customers must wear a face mask or covering. Yet they put so much emphasis into that in their policy. But you go into any Walmart, you see somebody, or at least I just said it. You go to any store, and you see it every day. It doesn't matter, and they don't care, and they still serve customers because that's the way. That's the policy way. Also, I find that funny too, because I overheard my manager today talking about I guess he got a video of some guy apparently doing. It sounded like he didn't say cocaine, but he basically said he was doing drugs on the front sidewalk out front out of a straw. So
go party.
Their biggest concern is making sure someone wears a mask and not making sure that people.
Yeah, and on the medical proof thing, it's bylaw is subject to the Human Rights Code, which gives exemption on the ground of creed, which is a deeply held belief. It's subject to the rights. It's subject to the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. And again, they can limit your rights and freedoms, but then they have to prove the effectiveness of the mask. And I feel comfortable personally that I could fight that and win. Again, a court precedent was set in 2018 where it's not my opinion, like court arbitrators, we've reported on this numerous times. Court arbitrators said there's insufficient evidence. They had experts and everything. I could grab that court case, walk in, I'd read that the that straight through. But a judge can waive that? No, you can't. So the way it works with a judge is if you come in with a court case and you reference a specific portion, they have to look through that and they can't just dismiss it, because it's like you're dismissing another judge's work, and that's where it gets messy. So they're really hesitant to do that. They won't just dismiss it. And like 2018, again, Ontario Nursing Association here fought and won on the vaccine or mask policy. And what the arbitrator said in that case, I'll pull it up maybe. I'll pull it up. I've looked it up so many times. It's a part of my regular search bar. Every time I type in like 5 words, it comes up.
The recommendations when you open a new tab.
Yeah. So it would be a precedent then. It's set in 2015, and then they won again, Tim, in 2018, at least in Ontario. But you could also, it's like the same system, so you could use that in Saskatchewan. But here, I'm going to read from the decision. So after reviewing extensive evidence, expert evidence submitted by both ONA and St. Michael's Hospital, which was the lead case for the Tazen group, arbitrator William Kaplan in his September 6th decision found that St. Michael's vaccine or mask policy is, quote, illogical and makes no sense, and is, quote, the exact opposite of being reasonable. In reaching this conclusion, arbitrator Kaplan rejected the hospital's evidence. So again, their argument was, oh, it's putting patients at risk. That's why they wanted it to happen. If you don't have the vaccine, you're putting patients at risk. You see why I say the precedent's been set. And then the Ontario Nursing Association has been quiet on this, and mainstream media has been quiet on this. And I offered to debate CTV, CBC Global on these things. I talked about some of this stuff in my email. I think it was a while back now, but
2, 3, 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's somewhere on the Facebook page. You'll be able to find it. But this is the second win for ONA. Arbitrator James Hayes struck down the same type of policy in an arbitration that included other Ontario hospitals across the province, with Salt Area Hospital as the lead case. Hayes found, so this is a different arbitrator now, and he said there was scant evidence that forcing nurse to use masks reduced the transmission of influenza to patients. Well, Greg, but influenza's not COVID. Yeah, you're right. Influenza particles are bigger than COVID. And I can actually prove that, and did prove that by going through a science like textbook, or basically broke down the size of the COVID nanoparticles compared to influenza. COVID's been docked in at 120 nanoparticles. I think influenza is 150. So it's even less likely that it's going to help. And here we are. And so they basically said, like, we already have our priority of nurses across Ontario is first and foremost safety of our patients, but these hospital policies do not protect patients. That's their president. Ontario Nursing Association has already successfully argued against the policies, proving they're fundamentally flawed. And so, again, where are they? They're quiet now, and my guess is that you don't need to control or that many people to keep people silent. You control a few people at the top, and everybody else generally falls in line. That's why they hit the nail that stands up so hard, because if they can hit that, then nobody's going to stand up behind them. So, I mean, I think with what happened tonight, and I'm going to go through with the Human Rights Tribunal violation. I don't want to. I like the store, but you can't treat people like this. I mean, and yeah, like somebody made the comment about liability. They have you can see the copy of the full decisions available here. It's linked in a bunch of my articles. Can't name them off the top of my head, but I know a bunch of like COVID setting the record straight. I guarantee it's probably in that one. But
so, did you end up getting your groceries then?
I did.
Oh.
Champ here. So, no, actually, I didn't back down, and basically, I wasn't mean. I wasn't belligerent, but like, so they had that conversation.
Just after that guy started berating us.
And like after the guy started berating us, this kid that's standing in line, like waiting to get meat, the girl broke down behind the counter. I think she almost took pity on us, so served us. And I just said, like, we're done. And then we get to the checkout, and they're like, sir, we can't serve you, no mask or not. I'm like, so I already have my groceries. I'm already at the checkout. I'm going to stand here longer if you don't. The girl that was at our checkout just like, so I can take you. And she just started scanning the stuff. They could receive a $10,000 fine for that, I believe. See, I'm not sure on all of that, but I do know, again, looking into the bylaw, looking into the Human Rights Code, even Mr. Galati himself, for all the things he talked about, you can't just get rid of somebody for trespass because of a mask thing. Like, that's not how this works. Again, subject to the Human Rights Code, subject to the bylaw. So pretty straightforward.
Shall we shift directions now?
I guess.
First
yeah.
half of that.
Yeah. Well, so now we're going to talk about all the Trump stuff now. Going to remain as impartial as possible. Quite frankly, I've been honest. Like, I'm not a Trump fan right off the hop. I'm concerned, like, things, I'll be honest right off the hop. I don't buy into the Q stuff at all. I think what's going on now is, I almost wonder if it's to keep people quiet from what's going on. And I just keep hearing, trust the plan, trust the plan, trust the plan. It's, the lockdowns happened under Trump. Operation Warp Speed happened under Trump. And then we're here now, and it's just the can keeps getting kicked down the road further and further. Now, I could be proven wrong. Who knows? And I would support if they can come up on corruption charges. I'm sure there's lots to get on a lot of politicians. I've been arguing about him all day on Facebook. Lots of people pissed at me. It's how it goes. And so
I find it funny that they're wanting to impeach him, even though
the Article 25 stuff.
like what, 15 days left in office? You're gonna waste that time in the Capitol to impeach him?
It's all optics at this point for them.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, my thoughts are, like, if you go into the conspiratorial side of things, like, pretty sure Trump was like a Knights Templar. There's like a Time magazine thing you can find of him. He was a Knights Templar, and not sure, again, don't know for sure. Like, that's a long time ago. I don't have that to pull up, but my thoughts are, for things we can actually measure, Operation Warp Speed, not a good thing. Locking people down, he basically, like, people are like, oh, but they put his back against the wall. It's like, well, at the same time, you say they put his back against the wall, but realistically, he kept talking about, like, people told me I shouldn't shut down, and I shut down. And look at, like, oh, we're so much better than Sweden. It's like, have you looked at the case numbers and the death numbers? Sweden's doing better than you, and they didn't lock down. And so all these things, now they test more. And if you know about the PCR, there's all these different things that come into play. That at the end of the day, the truth is nuanced, and it would be tough to ever have a concrete answer on what's actually happening in our countries. I've seen footage of Antifa supposedly being led to the rally and let through the gates. Started the fines. Yeah, we're going to go through a bond. We've been polling, so we actually have a lot of stuff lined up for everyone here. And so let's get at it. I guess maybe we'll alternate, Project. You can have one up, I'll have one up. And now I don't know what order these are all in. It's just stuff that stuck out to us, and we will we'll talk about it after each one we pull up. I gotta pull up.
Faye's comment. Trump just came out and said, "Stop the violence."
Yeah,
he said it'll be peaceful transition to new government. I have a little thing from is it Dan? Bong.
Yeah. He talked about that now, and like when I say, like, he seems to just keep putting enough in that the people that are kind of about the Q stuff will keep following. It's like now the latest thing is like, oh, but he said a smooth transition, but he didn't mention Biden. Oh, trust the plan. It's like, oh crap, guys! Like, how long? Oh, like if it ends now, are you going to be saying the same? Oh, trust the plan. He's going to run in 2025 or something, or 24. Like, what are we going that far down the road? Like, how long do you just keep giving somebody a pass? But anyways, we'll go through all the evidence we came with around and found interesting. And we'll let you make up your own mind. And again, we're going to remain as impartial as possible. I've stated all the biases I have, and I will still go through the information at hand. So this is a tweet. Veteran from Eyewitness reports that the first people to storm the Capitol were dressed up and had knee pads. It's Antifa and terrorist group and BLM. They had radio communications. This was orchestrated and planned. So this is one person's opinion that was there. Let's listen to what they have to say.
So I'm watching guys around. Yeah, everybody here is over 40 years old. A couple of young guys, they're sketchy. They got knee pads on, all this shit. I was a fighter. I'm sizing guys up and stuff. We're here for 4 or 5 hours. Suddenly a guy goes flying by us and falls down. He gets up. Somebody tripped him by accident. He gets up. He makes a run for the gate. 30 seconds later, there was like 50 of them all storming the gate. I'm like, that's not a fucking coincidence. And somebody said, hey, it's on CNN. A minute later, it's on CNN. That's fucking sketchy. Then this other stuff was on. These guys went running there, and they all stormed the gate. They push them. Like, we've all been peaceful protesters here all day, and suddenly these guys are all pushing forward. And like, what the fuck is that all about? Suddenly they're all running up the hill. We're all standing back like, wow, it's great. Don't do that. This is not cool. Next thing you know, they're all running. And then I see other guys with black jackets on, a couple of kids on bicycles going, come on, get in here. I'm like, I'm watching this.
Well, that's what everybody does is they cover their.
That's Alex Jones, obviously interviewing, but still interesting video. Make sure you put up. Oh, you got the disclaimer up? Atta girl. I was like, yeah, make sure. Better late than never, right? So thoughts on that? Yeah, just again, sorry, we apologize. We can't control language of people that are riled up in the moment at the event, right? So we're gonna go through it piece by piece, and yeah, what are your thoughts on that? You don't have to give like. There's nothing for you to really comment on. Don't feel the need to. But I got the next one up here.
Just my perspective on it is like I think it was a mixture of people who I personally think it may have been Antifa who kind of initiated it, but you see people like the woman who was shot and killed, who was in there trying. I think it was she trying to get into the chamber or something?
I'm not sure,
but
we do.
She was inside the Capitol building regardless. Something, I guess that's trespassing or whatever, but. People like her who are like big time Trump supporters and still going in. I'm not saying no one deserves that. No one deserves to lose their life, but
we'll talk about it's the mob mentality, right? So let's go through a few more videos and then we'll talk about it more in length. I think is probably the best way to go. Yeah, you want to pull up my screen? Which one do you have up, Roderick?
I'm gonna echo.
Okay, well then I'll go on mine. Okay, you ready? Yeah. Okay, so this is at the gates. I'll play it a couple times. It's only 13 seconds long. But Tim, you talked about people being let in. This might have been the video you've seen. Let's go.
Police are squabbling with protesters. There we go.
So I just want to replay that. Look at the guy far right. It looks like he opens up the gate. But again, I don't know for sure. And what you'll have to do, I can't do it on Twitter, but if somebody downloaded this, you can frame by frame it and see what happened.
Police are squabbling with protesters. There we go.
Yeah,
guy hugged them.
And they just breached the Capitol again.
So, and the other thing is like, they have a lot, like, this is the part that blows me, is like the amount of security they have, the amount of money they have to, why wasn't there more police presence? Like you had this massive protest that was going to be happening near the Capitol Hill building, and they didn't think to go, we should bulk up security and have a real perimeter. Like why? That's a perimeter you put up at like a Coachella concert. Like that's not, you know what I mean? That's to keep people in line. That's not to actually prevent something bad from happening.
That's where I think people. This is why the media is talking about it so much. Like, oh, Trump supporters, like doing all this crazy stuff. It's like, I mean, BLM was doing that months ago, and like Antifa, and
well, look at the response they had. There's a picture going around, but they had like the whole National Guard was lining the steps. It looked like of the Capitol building, and so I'm not sure where they were this time around.
And I guess hindsight is 2020, but then maybe they just assumed, it's never happened at a right-wing protest, so I guess we don't have to.
Those are the ones you should be worried about.
Yeah.
Maybe not, or maybe it hasn't, like, I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, not that.
If you knew there's going to be 50,000 of anybody, and you know about human psychology, and you know about mob mentality, and you know that about agent provocateurs and all this stuff's known to people that are, or at least it should be known to people in power. And I would imagine the military, National Guard, everybody there would have been prepped and knowledgeable about this type of stuff, and they had nothing prepared for this. Like, it just, like, literally, that's the perimeter they set up. They knew for weeks there's going to be a rally talking. Yeah, no. So this is the point. Like, they did know for weeks there was going to be a rally. This has been promoted. They had merchandise made, was my understanding. And so that's where I get hung up. I'm like, what is going on where
It seems a little shady. Is that what you think?
yeah, let's keep going through it. There's a few more videos that we got lined up.
So my video is just a little rant from Dan Bongino.
Dan Bonino.
Or is it?
Yeah, he talks about I think he talks about the perimeter, right?
I think so. He was suspended. I don't want to talk about the story before I get into this. He was suspended from Twitter for, I think it was 12 hours for sharing or retweeting or something of Donald Trump's address to call it an end to the violence.
Yeah.
So that's something, and he actually announced he's switching over to Parler for good. He'll be tweeting after his lockdown on Twitter is over, and then he'll be out of there.
I mean, I'm pretty sure we're gonna have to make that switch soon if we haven't already. I think we might have the account, but I'm not sure that we've done anything with it. I don't like Parler, and it feels like if you don't have a following, it's hard to build a following. That's how it feels.
Yeah.
But that's my personal opinion. I don't know it well enough to even really have an opinion on it. I just know I got frustrated with it, but it could be because I don't like change. I don't like change. You got your video? Let's go.
I hope I shared the audio correctly. Oh, I probably didn't I?
I don't know. Did you?
Sure
No, you did. Sure didn't, Chief.
Totally not ready. It's always that little button you hit.
You try that again.
So, okay.
Oh, George, what? That's okay. All right. If you don't got yours, we'll go back to mine. We'll come back to Benino. So this is
It's on my tab now.
yeah. Okay. So this is an eyewitness. What does it say here? An eyewitness report that those who stormed the Capitol was Antifa posing as Trump supporters. So now this is one person's opinion again. Now it doesn't paint the whole picture because there's a lot of other videos and stuff that have gone around, but let's hear what he has to say.
Hi there. This guy saw what just happened. He claims that it was Antifa dressed as Proud Boys. So I wanted to sort of get his
Trump
story.
supporters. They were dressed as Trump supporters. But I could tell by their conversation that they were looking to do, and I heard them say, we got to shake this up so that these people look bad. And I saw them break a window on the Capitol. I'm an emergency management coordinator in Lehigh County, Pennsylvania. And these people were talking amongst themselves. And I was standing and listening behind them what they could do to make Trump's people look bad.
Wow, well, thank you for sharing.
And then after I left, I'm like, I'm out of here, okay? And then I started walking away. I heard something else. I heard somebody trying to break another window. I don't know if they actually broke the second window, but I heard something hit a second window.
Did you see any of the mob violence that happened?
That was on the other side of the Capitol building. So there were people climbing up the scaffolding, and a lot of Trump's people started saying these aren't our people, and started walking away. And they were tearing the plastic, cutting the plastic, and then they the Capitol Police let some tear gas go. And
So there we go. That's one. Again, now you're natural. To give a little context to this, you're always going to think your side's not the problem. So when he says, I don't think, Trump people were saying, I imagine there was Trump supporters saying this isn't our people. I imagine that did happen and that they didn't agree with it at all. But at the same time, we'll go into a little bit more, but let's just keep firing through the videos. Like, mob mentality changes things. I'll just leave it at that. Antifa carry clear shields who broke the window. See, I seen video of, I don't think I have it, but I seen video. Did you see the one? The guy's hitting on the window, and then somebody pulls them down that looked like they had Trump apparel on. Do you know the one I'm talking about? We were both going through.
I've probably seen it. It's so hard to get through the Twitter algorithm and find what you were looking at.
Yeah.
But
All right. Do you got the Benino clip now?
Yeah.
Bonino talking about this is Dan Bonino, conservative commentator, talking on Fox, excuse me, about his opinion. Now, for background on Dan, he was a special protected the president.
Secret Service?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Secret Service. And so I think he has an idea about security, but he'll talk about his own record here anyways, but go ahead.
You watched the events happen today. Now, it's not the big crowd. It was a small percentage of a massive crowd. They knew that crowd was coming from the Washington Monument to the Capitol. And it seemed like they were able to breach this thing in minutes, like zero preparation had occurred here. From a law enforcement perspective, what are your thoughts? How did that happen?
Well, it doesn't appear they had a strong external perimeter. Snow fencing is not going to stop people. It's just really basically a visual obstruction. That's it.
I'm gonna pause it for a second.
But having said that,
just need the pause to make sure we break up the algorithm here because I don't need any strikes on the channel. So continue.
just a few thoughts on today, and this is probably the toughest appearance I've ever had on the network. Listen, we can't ever normalize political violence, ever. You know, there's a famous quote by Ellis that civilization is a thin crust on a volcano. Well, what is that thin crust made of, right? Well, it's made of law, order, the Constitution, rules that apply to everyone. But Sean, the rules don't apply to everyone. Whereas people on this network and me today have said, listen, what happened today was not normal and should not be accepted and should be called out. And we have period.
All right, I think we'll end it there anyways. Ads.
Oh, there's so much more to that video that I love, though.
Well, then talk about it. Talk about some of the points that stood out to you. Because, again, we don't want to get flagged here on algorithm, and Fox seems like that might happen.
We feel bad, then.
Okay.
I don't know that you can copyright a news broadcast.
Can you copyright it? I don't know that you can copyright a news broadcast, but I wouldn't put it by anybody. I think it was a setup to shut up Trump till Biden is sworn in. Trump was banned by Twitter, Facebook, Google, the controllers of the world. It's a possibility. Again, I would love for all the stuff that's been said to be true, in the sense that there would be justice to people who have done wrong. But Trump was part of Operation Warp Speed. Trump advocated for lockdown, so I'm not really sure. I think maybe some of this is just to keep everyone quiet while this all unfolds. But again, I could be proven wrong here. Time will tell, right? I'll either be right or I'll be wrong. So go ahead.
All right. I got another piece of the clip.
Yep.
You want
to? For over a month was bombed nightly by a group that associates with the left not that long ago. Do you think that would have been allowed to happen if it were a group of, God forbid, conservatives or libertarians? You damn well know the answer is no. Those people would have been arrested and tried immediately. Why? Why is that? Why was that allowed to continue for a month? And the answer is, Sean, because there isn't one guiding set of principles in this country. There were one rule for the left and the media and another set of rules from conservatives who call out violence anytime it happens everywhere and are saying tonight it is never the solution to our problems in this country. We are a country, it's not a Parcheesi club. There has to be one set of principles that it's assigned to both sides and we have fidelity to. And if we don't have that, we don't have a country. And if you're not willing to do an autopsy in this and find out and honestly critique.
Yes.
Yeah.
I completely agree. Like, you need to do an examination before we jump on any one narrative. I just know that for considering there's a giant protest happening and they knew about it for weeks, for the perimeter not to be better secured, it was literally secured with snow fencing. You have to question, like, what is really going on. And then they ban them off Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. So like they severely, and on that note, before all it happened, like we released the video, we were watching the broadcast, it was dead air. They're like recess is in session, and that's all that was on the screen. And we overheard in the dead broadcast, I think we were watching Right Side News, and we overheard in the broadcast, that's the video we released where they say, like, you know, there's people enter the rotunda. You need to be prepared to get under your seats if necessary. And then what went through my head at that time is I'm like, what a waste, because they, in my opinion, a lot of the Republican senators were making good points on the voter fraud issues, like whether or not you agree on it. Like, there shouldn't be, for instance, they found one place, I believe Project Veritas investigated recently, and that it was a homeless shelter that had registered thousands of people in one state. And like, it's one thing if a homeless person was going and wanted to vote, and that gives them that's not what was happening to my understanding. It's just people were using it. They're using it for names to register an address to. There's a bunch with vacant address. The water main burst, but there's no proof of actual water damage or a water main break. All these things that adds up. And that was kind of the whole argument. And I thought I was like, oh, they're doing a pretty good job arguing their point. And I felt like the Democrats were arguing the Constitution incorrectly. They were going to section 2.3 and then just conveniently skipping over section 2.2. And then all that happened. And then it's all of a sudden they were talking in the dead of night. There was like no real viewership because like I didn't even know it had resumed. And all of a sudden, like 3 o'clock in the morning, I woke up to feed my daughter. I look at Twitter because that's typically what I do. I'm like, have her in one arm and then I'll have the phone in the other. Not a good way to go. But anyways, and then I seen that Biden had been sworn in. And I'm like, what? 3 o'clock? I didn't even know they had resumed it. But that's where we're at. We got some more video coming up for everyone here. Let's pull up the next one. What do we got? No, not that one here. Just a second before you pull up my screen, okay? You sent that 1 million MAGA March.
You know,
Nora Ingram.
I want to talk about the hypocrisies a little bit more. I got a few clips, short clips.
Okay, yeah, pull them up. I got to get mine lined up here. Sorry, everyone. It's just you got like 20, 30 clips. You can't have them all up on the screen, so
Yeah.
it's not a good way to go.
This tweet was kind of funny, not fun, but you know, it's hypocritical, right?
I'm glad I can do that for you, Faye. Getting ticked off again. Sorry. Sorry. Obviously, they're used to working late at night.
Okay, I got it.
Okay, you got it?
Yeah.
I will pull that here.
I find it it's just kind of hypocritical that, you know, yeah, people like this. We need the same media condemnation back in May when historic buildings were being burned, attacked, bricks thrown, graffitied by BLM and Antifa. You see this kind of stuff happening. And then I have one other clip. I gotta share it with audio though.
Rookie.
Cool.
So
it's the way my computer works. Don't get mad.
So one of the things on the fraud, like the history is going to be rewritten. It would probably be in the benefit of everyone. Take the transcripts from videos, print them out, and have your own copy. Have a concept and write out a narrative of what happened so that we can have an understanding and look back at this one day after it's all been wiped, because we're at a point in history where all the mainstream media platforms, where a lot of the information now shared in the world, if it doesn't jive with the way that they want things to be perceived, it seems they get taken down. And so have these things written down. I think it'd be a good place to every little individual story, have it written down, the dialogue, and maybe put a book together one day of everybody's compilation of stuff like this, because it will become a distant memory and a shell of what people remember today.
Yeah.
All right, what we got?
This is, what do they say? Remember when CNN's Chris Cuomo said this when Antifa and BLM burned down entire cities? So these are clips from yesterday, tapered with his comments.
Too many see the protests as the problem. No, the problem is what forced your fellow citizens to take to the streets. Persistent and poisonous inequities and injustice. And please, show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful. Too many see...
Yeah, so that was his comments from the Black Lives Matter protest paired over top of the Capitol Hill stuff. Again, we're not condoning violence. It's just presenting the double standard. Now, that's not the way to go. And so we've watched quite a few videos here. I got another one. This is Inside Report, shows some shocking scenes from inside the Capitol that haven't been seen on any American news network. So am I up yet?
Yeah, you're up.
Sweet.
Hill police officers, this was a losing battle.
This is exactly what was feared, but in no way is this a surprise. It has been fueled by
See a guy in the background waving him in.
And it's increasingly clear this election has not healed the wounds. It has simply amplified them.
We followed the aggrieved and infuriated Trump supporters as they stormed the building. Through broken windows and doors they had forced open. And for a few heady moments they felt they had won a precious victory.
Proud Boys hat there. So that's the Proud Boys emblem. And so now the theory was that he had Antifa dressing up as Proud Boys, and that could have happened. But I think, again, mob mentality, I think what truly happened, I don't know who started it. I don't know that we will ever know what started it. But once that levee is broken, you don't think there was enough anger in that crowd that people in that moment, given that opportunity, would be taken over by emotion and be a part of it? I think Trump supporters were in there with Proud Boys. They were in there with Antifa. Who started it? I mean, who knows? But again, this is the Proud Boys emblem. I'm pretty sure on that one. So we'll continue here.
What's the purpose of storming Congress itself?
Because they work for us. They don't get to steal it from us. They don't get to tell us we didn't see what we saw. We respect the law. We were good people. The government did this to us. We were normal, good, law-abiding citizens, and you guys did this to us. We want our country back. We are protesting for our freedom right now.
Are these dudes, like, straight up, I thought that was National Guard, but I think these are people that also came in. I voted sticker here would not be on National Guardsmen.
Difference.
Or the gas mask. Well, the gas mask might be if they tiered it.
They reached and entered the Speaker's office itself. Although Nancy Pelosi and other lawmakers had already been evacuated to safety.
So that was the other thing. Do you have the Nancy Pelosi video? She was the first one out of the room before anybody knew. Well, that would have been on the live stream.
And then ABC News.
Okay, so I don't know that we'll get that, but we were watching ABC News, I believe, at the time. Nancy Pelosi, when we were watching, it seemed like she was the first one ushered out. The other question I have is, was Nancy Pelosi's office locked? I don't know if we'll be able to tell from this video.
There you go, brother.
As we filmed, protesters tore down Pelosi's nameplate.
And so here we are right now inside the halls of Congress.
Why am I taking it down?
Just so we don't get.
Oh, we've already paused a few times. That's basically the end of that there. So again, different groups in there. We're gonna pull this back. They got Pence the hell out of there fast. Watch Trump's latest video on his YouTube channel. He's done fighting the election results. He said they unsuccessfully pursued every lead. Yeah, so it sounds like he's actually conceded. Now, the next thing that people jumped on AB was that he's basically hasn't said we'll have a smooth transition to Biden. And so now, the same people that have been following Q, and I admittedly don't, so don't jump. I'm just reporting what we know. They're now saying, it's, he didn't say it would smooth transition to Biden, and it's back to trust the plan. But I've said it was fire extinguishers going off, look like tear gas to me. I'm not sure. Yeah, what'd you say? They were reporting tear gas. So that was the National Guard that hit them with the tear gas. I think that was with the protest. I don't know. There's a bunch of reports that went both ways. Do you got another clip lined up there, Broderick?
No, because a lot of them were Actually, I got one. I don't even know.
I got a couple more. I mean, there's so many. We tried to pull a bunch. I'll pull mine first. You get yours ready to go. This one I thought was interesting. I believe this is cops are taking selfies with terrorists is what Timothy Burke shared. But again, I think I shared this out on our Twitter or our Facebook page, and I said that's a little odd. So I just want to show everyone this one. So they're entering the building, and here we go. Does that look normal to you? Okay, so this is a police officer. I thought through the alternative side of this, like maybe he's concerned. You kind of appease the protesters until backup gets in, right? Maybe like I don't know how I'd handle myself. Maybe I'd take the selfie too, but I just thought the whole situation's bizarre. But this is and it shouldn't have happened. But here we are. Like this is a police officer seemingly taking a selfie.
ACAF.
So did he say ACAB? That would be all cops are bastards. So let's hear that one more time. ACAF. Or ACAF. I can't tell. I can't make that one out, so I can't make a determination on that. What do we got for the comments here?
No, would that be?
What did Tim say?
The uniform the guy's in.
Comments. So I can only see like 6 comments down. So if I don't see your comment, you have to forgive me.
This type of corruption even Trump can't handle.
This type of corruption even Trump can't handle.
The uniform that cop was wearing, is it official? Like
again,
name or like somebody dressing up as one? Like
that would be those questions for correspondents in the Washington D.C. area that are more familiar with American politics. I don't know. Like I have no idea what the special service uniforms look like. I have no idea what the Capitol Hill police uniform looks like, or even Washington D.C. I don't know, but it appeared to be police for somebody who is not aware of the uniforms, and they take the selfie. And now who knows why they did that? Again, maybe they were scared, didn't have backup, so maybe you're appeasing the protesters at that point. Until you can and feel in a situation where you can go on the offensive to try to clear the building. Trump can just go back to building hotels. All right. Do you got another one, Broderick?
Golfing. Yeah. I forget what this one was. It's just Tucker talking with this guy on his show.
No audio.
I did like the audio. I know I did.
Survey says that was a lie. All right. I'll pull another one here. What do we got?
I got it.
Do ya? You sure?
And he's got some exclusive video for us. Drew, it's good to see you tonight. What'd you see?
Yeah, Tucker, it was pretty peaceful today near the Washington Monument. But as the march continued to the nation's capital here in D.C., things got a little crazy. I think you could see from the footage, demonstrators, some Trump supporters. The rumor is that even possibly Antifa insurrectionists possibly could have infiltrated some of these movements and maybe instigated some of this. Doesn't excuse some of the behavior, but I think it's pretty simple, pretty clear. People are frustrated. They stormed the Capitol. They did vandalize. They did go through the doors. They pushed down gates. They wanted their voices to be heard. But to go to your point, listening to you guys talking, I think our elected officials, the least they could have done, Tucker, was at least conduct some kind of investigation for the American people. 74 million Americans that believe that this election is fraudulent. The least they could have done was prove that it was.
Yeah, they should have had an independent inquiry for sure. And so, like, things like, listen, when they changed the election laws because of COVID, allegedly, right? We can do mail-in voting. We can do this. We can do that. They extended. You're supposed to have your votes in by a certain time. They extended it. I think it was Pennsylvania. Again, not topped on American politics. They extended one of the areas or one of the states to 18 days after they were still counting votes. That's, again, a judge doesn't get to make that decision according to the Constitution. That's the job of the legislator. And they weren't given that opportunity. And my understanding of what happened is they didn't care to investigate that. That just passed. So Yeah. And again, it doesn't matter at this point who started it. There, I think, had groups of everyone involved in what happened. So we want to put up that warning. I think this is a video, or this is not quite the video, but we're going to come up to one that does show violence. And so I just want to warn everyone.
Just think about, like, if you were there in person, I don't know about you, but I feel like it'd be really easy to get lost in, like, the drama.
Yeah.
Maybe jump through a window
This
or
is-
do stuff, but, like,
you have a crowd of like 50,000 or 100,000 or however big this, they said up to 200,000. You've seen the pictures we shared on Facebook. It looked like, some people said millions of people were there. I don't know what the actual number is. Everybody likes to overestimate crowd size in our experience from covering some stuff, right? But you don't really know, but there's a lot of people there. And so you have a bunch of angry people sardined in a small area. And then if a couple people kind of give the green light, like socially, people are looking for that potentially. They don't even realize it. And then now you have a bunch of people willing to do something they may have never otherwise done because the environment was created where they felt it could be done. And so I think you probably had Oath Keepers, Proud Boys, Antifa, and Trump supporters all in that building. Probably what happened. But again, I don't know that we'll ever know for sure. This is all, based on what we see. And we might never know that answer. If they don't do a true investigation into it, we probably will never know. But what we got here? So this is on the, this is, again, they're saying President Donald Trump supporters pulling Antifa terrorists away from the building. There's plenty of these videos. Why isn't the mainstream media reporting? This is Bernard B. Carrick. Do you have mine up? Okay, cool. So show this one here. I think this is one maybe people have seen. Here's somebody saying Antifa. Now they pull him away. The crowd applauds. Watch that on a loop here one more time. They need to know it's not us. That's interesting. I didn't hear that the first time I watched that. So that's them. You see somebody with like a baton or something hitting the Capitol Hill building window, and a woman saying Antifa, 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 Antifa. They need to know it's not us. And then you see a Trump supporter or somebody who appears to be in Trump swag pulling them away, and the crowd kind of applauds. It sounded almost like they were booing. I don't know. How'd you hear that on your end? It almost sounded like booing.
I could hear you.
Yeah. So again, that's a lot of people have seen that video. I heard it was a hammer. We'll look at that one more time. It might be a hammer.
Oh, it might have been the other end of a hammer. I don't know why you'd use a hammer that way, though. No, it doesn't make sense.
That might be a hammer reversed. Like backwards.
Oh, why would you do that?
Do what?
It's the dumbest way to use a hammer.
Yeah, they're like, hey, buddy, the other side's more effective. Not that I'm advocating you use it, but if it was a hammer, you're supposed to use the other side.
It looked like the handle of something. It kind of, like the way I saw it, it looked like one of those reeds with like the thin reed with the top piece on it. It's all fluffy on the inside.
Okay, the baby's are fighting to sleep as she likes to do. So we're gonna pull up another video so that my wife can be the true hero of this broadcast that she really is. She's rolling eyes at me, but I love her still anyways. Now she's smiling, so that's a win.
Hardly smile.
That was a smirk, maybe a glare. I'm going to chalk it up as a win for the people here on the live stream. So I'll go down here. What do we got? Rex Chapman on Twitter. Is that the one I think it is? There's so many that I'm not even sure what they are anymore because it doesn't give you a true caption until you pull it up. What's this one? Not BLM, not Antifa. These are Trump supporters. So again, I'm trying to give everybody the optics of everything that went on, and I'm going to just let you make up your minds. But, it's not the job of media to give you our bias. although we have our biases, and I'm pretty open. I think Project's pretty open about our biases. We try to be as objective as possible as a news organization. You know, media used to inform people, and that was supposed to be the job of the media. So we're trying to do that. And that's our slogan here is stories that matter, truth falls where it falls. So let's pull this one up. This is, again, this is Rex Chapman says, not BLM, not Antifa. These are Trump supporters. Wait, I want to read the caption below. Outside the government mansion in Olympia, Washington, major divisions within the MAGA ranks, psychos walking around with guns. This isn't going to end well.
Boomers! What do you think of boomers? Fuck boomers! Yeah!
So he's got a knife.
We're not on the same side. They're trying to fucking stop us.
That's quite the clip he's got too. Walkie-talkie.
Mexicans who come here en masse. They'll have the 60s and 70s immigration control. They allow everyone to come in here. They made it. They hog buildings. They hog houses. They hog boats. They're fucking greedy pieces of shit. Fuck boomers. One bullet for every fucking boomer. Day of the pillow, motherfucker. Open up.
Okay.
You have an obligation to the people and to protect our rights. And Inslee has picked and chosen what rights we are allowed to have. And you cannot do that game. That car's unlocked? That car is unlocked.
Why is the car unlocked?
Whoa, no.
Okay, so I think this is almost done here. So that's definitely, yeah. It seems like he's definitely an agitator. He's definitely angry and trying to almost seems like rile other people up. But like, I don't understand the whole boomer thing he was on about.
It's not like boomers didn't go to war and fight for our countries back in World War World War Two.
Wrong generation.
World War Two, you know, generation, right? That's what I meant was the older people. I know my history there. World War II.
Your generation.
Even then. I'm trying to get at it. It's not like they didn't fight in the war for us, and they had it tough.
One angry ginger. Wow. Hey, don't talk about my brother that way. Oh, it's the other guy. Okay.
You know what I mean? Like he's what they would call an entitled millennial.
Well, I don't know about entitled, but definitely there maybe, you know, that's not somebody there to per se protest. When you show, like, it's one thing to show up in body armor because you're concerned about what might happen. It's another to show up with, I'm a ginger too. Get out of town. Get out of town. It's like two unicorns in a chat room. Sorry. But it's like when you show up with like a knife and a gun and body armor and a walkie-talkie, like I don't think you're there for, we'll say, good intentions or just to protest. Definitely not a Trump supporter. So again, I'll just leave that up to the audience to make up their mind. I don't know. There's something off about that guy in general.
Yeah, basically, it kind of reminds me of that. Have you ever seen that Steven Crowder bit? They send not gay Jared to infiltrate Antifa,
and they like go to hand him a knife, and he's like, oh, "Okay." It's like, how do I hold it? And they're like giving him instructions. And that was dark. All right, the wave's coming back down. We can get another video here in a second. Then my daughters are just like, yeah. She's got a victory face on. And if you're new here to Diverge Media, we always have, you know, it's like a family ordeal here, and our daughter, for whatever reason, I don't know. It seems like every live stream night she likes to fight.
It's
been this whole week, but seems to always make an appearance on live streams.
Got her on a sleep schedule, apparently.
Almost every night of the week before, it would be fun. Reminds me of Kirk Douglas in the movie Falling Down. I'm 64 but young. 64. You're only as old as you feel. So I'm 26, but I feel 50. Just turned 54. All right, so that's that one. We got a few more here tonight. Man, It's getting late. I have so many lined up, and I don't know which ones are which anymore. Ezra Klein on Twitter. What does Ezra Klein have to say? I'm gonna pull up.
Pick wise, they say.
I'm narrowing it down. I'm trying to get the most prominent ones here. Antifa is truly everywhere. So this one was meant to be ironic. Rick Saccone was there, who said, "We are storming the Capitol. Our vanguard has broken through the barricades. Will we say we will save this nation? Are you with me?" And Rick Saccone, for everybody here, I'll look up Saccone. Was it like that, or is it Saccone? Saccone. Saccone. That's how I'm going to remember it. Yeah, Rick Saccone. He's an American politician and author who represented the state's 39th district in Pennsylvania, House of Representatives from 2011 2019. He's a Republican. He was the party's nominee for the 18th, so he's there. And this is the picture of him. Let's see. Do we think it's the same person? I don't know. That's just like prim and proper. But that's it would help if I knew who politicians were. Tweets all. See? Already censored since I put it up earlier today. Okay, what do we got? That one's censored. Tuned in Conky. I was Antifa paid protest. We have that one. There we go. Only got a few more here. Mo Brooks. This is an interesting one.
Discuss your article.
Okay. I got two more, and then we're going to discuss our article, and we'll wrap up here. We'll leave that one out. There's a woman claiming to be the sister. I'll give the Twitter feed for everyone here, claiming to be the sister of Horn guy, the guy with the horns. It says he's actually a Q supporter, and that they were there to set up the police and set up the basically corrupt individuals, and they made a deal to let them in, kind of thing. And this is how they're going to get them. I'm just going to leave it at that. You can make up your own mind. You can go look through her stuff. But Mo Brooks said this and got completely lit up on Twitter for it. Please don't be like the fake news media. He said the fascist Antifa orchestrated Capitol Hill attack with clever mob control tactics. People are like, oh, anti-fascist. You can't be a fascist Antifa. And I think if you look up the definition of fascist, I'm going to butcher the spelling. Fascist define. It's a system of government marked by centralization of authority under a dictator, a capitalist economy subject to stringent government control. So they say they're anti-fascist, but this is where I imagine he was going with it. A political philosophy or movement based on violent suppression of the opposition, and typically a policy of belligerent nationalism and racism. Typically, so I think when he said fascist Antifa, I think he was referring to violent suppression of the opposition. But he got, anyways, people just attacked him left, right, and center on that tweet for that, to the point where it was trending for a while, and that's what people were talking about. And we'll play this video, and then we'll get on with the article I wrote today, and we'll close off with any comments.
Here now to explain it all for himself is Patrick Byrne.
That's not what I put up, is it? That's a no-go if that's it. Sorry, everyone. Where'd it go?
Okay, I have a question. Has anybody else had the issue with their Google becoming, every time you Google search, I know, but I think it happens to me in DuckDuckGo too. But I go to Google search and I get it all in French, and I went my settings and there's no French language set on.
Okay, I got one more I'm going to play for everyone tonight, and then we'll go to my article. This is Billy Prempa, ran for Congress, I believe, in New Jersey. He shared this out. It's only a 9-second clip. I'll give my thoughts after. I mean, here we have, we really need audio on this. Looks to be a police officer waving. And it appears, now some people have said, we'll just play it here. Sorry, everyone. Oh, come on. Stop being slow. Oh, so
Oh my God!
So, a very short clip. Let me play it one more time. So again, looks like he's waving in protesters, but as Broderick you brought up, he could very well be waving in backup by chance, but we'll leave that up to the audience to make up. Unless you have full video kind of around it, I'd be curious if there's other videos in the area that got the perspective from behind him. But again, a lot of the stuff you will never know. It was a massive crowd, and you had a lot of people acting out in it. So you might never know who started it, but I do imagine almost everyone supported it. But again, some of the things that don't add up is like the perimeters not being secured, not having the proper, you would say, security lined up for knowing in weeks in advance there was going to be a massive crowd there. But maybe he was one of the cops escorting Antifa. Again, I don't know. Can't comment on it, but I'll just leave that there for everyone. We try to point out as many videos as we can to present all different perspectives of the different groups that were involved, and we'll leave it to the audience to make up their mind. Did you guys see the footage of the woman getting shot? I did. I believe I had it, Tim, and it's been taken down. The woman who died, that's the one I think was taken down already. She did die, and from what I remember seeing in the video, she was climbing up on the window of a certain room. There's a bunch of people in the room with her, and it looked like there was guards in behind, or police in behind her, not really trying to stop her. And then somebody pulled you don't see who it is, you just see a gun from around the corner, a pistol, and fired, and then you see her basically drop from 3-4 feet up on a door sill or a window. I'm not sure what she was climbing on, and just hit the ground. And then somebody starts attending to her, but not sure how they got in the door. Leo Young. Hey, Leo, if you're new to the channel, make sure to sub. Thanks for coming out. But yeah, we talked about that. Not sure what happened, but if you go back, watch the full live stream, we got lots of videos to present lots of alternative points of view. And again, it's not the job of media to tell you what to think. We've just presented the evidence. I say evidence, it's not evidence. We've just presented. She was a veteran, that's right. We've just presented a lot of different viewpoints. We've presented some of our opinions on the matter, and we'll let you make up your mind. Yeah. So without further ado, let's not hold up things too much longer tonight. And I wrote 2 articles today. Productive. It's always a good day. I get 2 out. I feel all special. I like, but it doesn't mean they perform any better. I always laugh. Like, I almost know how things are going to perform before they perform, but it's, it is what it is. So I wrote today, police have a duty to protect Charter of Rights, Police Services Act. I go through both. I have the oath. This is from Police on Guard for Thee. That's their oath there. You can check it out. It basically says here, I, first name, last name, badge, solemnly swear, affirm that I will be loyal to Her Majesty the Queen and to Canada, that I will uphold the Constitution of Canada, and that I will, to my best ability, preserve the peace, prevent offenses, and discharge my other duties. My daughter's beaten up on the fireplace. My other duties as a police constable, faithfully and impartially, according to law. So part of that in the Part 1 of the Constitution examines the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, have some of the rights there. The Oakes proportionality test, we talk about that a little bit. We'll go down here. The Police Services Act also highlights the importance of safeguarding fundamental rights guaranteed by the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms and the Human Rights Code. This is directly from the Police Services Act. Police services shall be provided throughout Ontario in accordance with the following principles. The need to ensure safety and security of all persons and property in Ontario. The importance of safeguarding the fundamental rights guaranteed by the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms and the Human Rights Code. Hey, little ham. You going to bed?
No, Linda wants to see her.
Oh, Linda wants to see her. Linda, what are you making shots like from behind the scenes now? What is this? Making the call? Come here, Chunker. Ah! All right. Can you sit still for 10 minutes, 5 minutes? I doubt it. All right, so that's that article. Check it out. There's some good information on the Police Services Act in there and the oath they took. I don't want to give away the whole article. It's a quick.
She's starting to look so much more like Grace now.
Right? Yeah, she's man. All like if you looked at all my daughters when they were first born, they look like triplets. So yeah, you tell them. She's giving the gym advice to Dwight Schrute in The Office. for speeches. You just got to hit the desk a lot, and you emphasize and yell every time you make a point. Okay.
I gotta watch that show again.
I started rewatching it for like the 50th time.
It's still on Netflix, eh? It got taken down in the US though. Maybe that's
Yeah.
why all the uprisings are having.
Do we still have my screen share up? Yeah. So if you haven't checked this one out, I worked really hard on it. And I put together a very objective all-cause mortality 2020. Hey, don't do that. Don't do that.
Just gonna laugh.
I put it together and objective. My wife helped compile a bunch of data from Stats Canada. So I basically say, like, yes, it's up slightly in 2020, but we put it in context. This is 2018, 2019, 2020 all-cause mortality. November's not done. December's not done. And there's only 1 week in October for context. So you can see 3 weeks. Was it 3 weeks?
Yeah, there's 3 weeks.
Oh, so there's 3 weeks in October, not one, as I just said. But here's those numbers breakdown. You can go through. Yeah, she's done, eh? So one of the things we did in this article that I think is how we need to put this in context objectively, and is that we took the total deaths for 2018, 2019, 2020, and then I took the total population for those years, broke down. You can see all that. And then I took the total amount of deaths as a percentage of population to put it in context. So 0.76% of the population died in 2018, 0.75 died in 2019, and 0.79% approximate died in 2020. The reason it's approximate, obviously, it's incomplete data set. There's 241,255 all-cause deaths. So we estimate 301,343, and I give the reason as to why or how we came up with that. So if I said we add August's numbers of roughly 26,510, which splits the January, February numbers, which were the higher. So January, February had 2428. So I said, let's go 26.5, take the middle kind of ground. It's arbitrary, right? Incomplete data set. I'm just trying to, give context and see kind of a rough estimate where we might be at. So all population estimates are sourced from Stats Canada. So our all-cause mortality estimate in 2020 is up 0.04%. That's based on taking 26,510, I think was the number I came up with, and splitting the difference. So plus 1 week. So 26,510 plus 1 week at that rate, 7,068 is the 301 number. I take out the COVID deaths, 16,074. It's still up marginally compared to other years. Then I go through the average age of COVID deaths. 70.6% of COVID deaths are in the 80 plus category. The average life expectancy in Canada is 82, according to the World Bank. The next leading category for deaths behind 80 plus is 70 to 79 at 18.5, then 60 to 69, 7.3. Here's the chart from infobase.canada.ca, epidemiological summary. Then we have the average age of cases. So the average death are the most concerning is the 70 and above 70 and above category. The average age of cases, however, is the 20 to 29 group, where just 18 deaths have occurred, 0.1%. And I don't know the pre-comorbidity numbers on that, but I imagine they likely had them. So not necessarily. So 0.1% of total deaths that died with COVID, not necessarily from it, is what I say. I don't know, but I'm talking about the PCR test that is known to have issues. And this is so we also have the Wuhan study in here that you can go look. Roughly 10 million residents were tested. 300 had asymptomatic positive PCR tests, but when they took them to send off to a lab to see if they could infect a cell culture, 0 came back as viable virus, meaning they were unable to infect another cell culture. So in summary, I give out different reasons. And I have the probable cause in here of what creates a probable case directly from Canada.ca. So if you have a fever, a person who has a laboratory test with a fever of over 38, or exasperation of chronic or new onset of and cough, and he meets the COVID-19 exposure, or a person who has not had a lab test with fever of 38 or cough and close contact with a confirmed case, or has lived in or worked in a enclosed facility of an outbreak, can be considered a probable case. So I went through different reasons you might have a temperature over 38 that have nothing to do with COVID. This is from Huffington Post. 13 reasons why you might have a fever. Some reasons include, just out of the article, exerting yourself outdoors, traveling to another country, recent vaccination, sexually transmitted infections, alcohol withdrawal, and certain medications, just to name a few. You can check it out. It's linked in there if you want to look at more. We have many reasons the excess mortality might be up, and here's some of the proposed reasons I give as possibilities. Again, just possibilities. Increased suicides. We won't know those numbers likely for a few years, as the data takes a while to compile and get out. Increased anxiety and depression can lead to increased heart attacks, especially in older men. Elective surgeries were canceled and people are dying while awaiting needed surgeries. In-person doctor appointments are now a rarity, so screening processes that would normally catch cancers and other illnesses may not be caught. So life-threatening illnesses, people could have an issue. They're not getting in to see their doctor in time or at all. And these things, I don't want to, I don't want to be a burden on the healthcare system. They might be dying that way. Again, these are possibilities. These aren't statements. Possible increased workplace accidents leading to death. Depression leads to a higher rate of accidents in workplaces. Again, don't know. That's a possibility. Don't know what those numbers are. Don't know what they are in a normal year. And we won't know until they come out. But I'm just trying to present some of the alternatives of why we might have increased deaths. So the doctor thing is a big one. Not getting in to see elective surgeries is a big one. Increased suicides is likely going to be a big one. We know I think in Alberta, they had an article, more overdose deaths than COVID deaths, as an example. So things like this, that's not necessarily suicide, but if overdose deaths have increased drastically during the ongoing protocols and lockdowns, we can say that might be a correlation there, not necessarily causation, but something to keep in mind. And so there's other things that must be examined. I basically say don't blame COVID outright. We need to examine all of our approaches to dealing with COVID, including things like social distancing, isolation, and consider that the same policies meant to protect us may have led to higher all-cause mortality. So that's it. Talk about it. Check out that article more in depth. It's a good article for that. And a heart attack survivor here this year could cause another. I'm sorry to hear that, Linda. Glad you're okay. Don't do that. Who else is going to chat as much? We need people like you here in the comment section. So just don't hang on. Linda,
in regards to you saying earlier that your article might not perform well, I tried sending it as a message earlier, but to anyone who's not email subscribed to our website, that's the way you get them all in your inbox the quickest. I don't know if social medias like Facebook or Twitter are suppressing the algorithm for people like us now. I'm sure they are.
Yeah.
Just go to our website, divergemedia.ca. Scroll to the bottom. You can type in your email there, and every time we post, you get a notification within seconds.
Yeah, I'm looking at the comments here. My niece, Ruth Elizabeth, sorry to hear this. You want to put that one up, Kate? My niece waiting for a kidney transplant, has a donor. They won't do it right now. So are they deeming that an elective surgery, Ruth? Because I don't think a kidney transplant should be deemed an elective surgery. Linda, sorry. Yeah, I started watching funny movies for that. Okay, I'm sorry to hear that. I hope your niece gets the health care she needs soon, and that everything comes out fine, Ruth. Yeah. Okay. Our apartment management wants us wearing a mask in common areas. They want the same here. I'm like the second door into the building, and I'll just leave it at that. So, yeah.
Management coming in here.
We had management come into. Well, I can't say that. People might know where I live. I can't throw people under the bus, but yeah, it's been okay here. It's crazy. Her donor is in the States. She is in Toronto. Again, this is the stuff that's not getting told at all. Well, if it does, it's not in the way with the context it needs. Yeah, you can tell your niece that we would love to tell her story if she wants to tell it. If she wants to remain anonymous, we can do that too. But I think those stories are important for people to hear about the consequences of the measures we're taking right now. I'm right at the bottom of the stairs. Yeah. All right. So if we have any questions, pop them in. I'm going to give a few minutes and anything you want to add to tonight, Broderick?
No, I just said what I needed to say. Yeah.
I sent you an article to work on for tomorrow. It was, did you get it? What was it about, Kate?
The what now?
Oh, I don't remember.
She doesn't remember. Check
I
your
don't know
inbox.
what
We sent you a news release that I want you to work on. My brother had a kidney transplant over 45 years ago. He was one of the first. He's still alive. Hey, dude, I told you basically where I live. Did you beep your horn the other day? I can't say it was me. I don't know. We told us basically where you live. I'm trying to.
I don't know.
Is because of the sign you had out front of your house? Because I'm pretty sure I know. Like, I'm pretty sure I know where you are.
No,
Actually,
that was somebody else.
Is it?
I think so.
There's somebody like near me, like really close, that had a end lockdown sign, and I almost wanted to knock. But no, I don't just go around hawking my horn just indiscriminately. That's not what I do.
You gotta send that to me again because obviously I didn't get it.
Okay, we'll send that news release after. All right.
Yeah, she just said she lives in an apartment. That's a house.
Yeah, that is a house. Oh, she might be the other way.
I
don't know. We're trying to figure it out. We'll narrow this down one day. All right, I'm gonna read from a book, and then that'll be it for the night. Mondays and Thursdays live stream, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. This is from Economic Facts and Fallacies by Thomas Sowell on transportation. And I thought there was, there's something in here that I want people to understand. Okay, so we have the talk, the carbon tax, right? It's going to make things more and more unaffordable for people that drive cars. And on top of that, with the ongoing lockdowns, there's already, I've noticed it with my car, that I think there's imports on certain parts, and the cost has gone up. Remember the alternator, Roderick? They thought the alternator was going to be almost $400 for an alternator for my car, for a Mazda 5. And so I think the lockdowns, there's going to be packages of parts. I know my brother works at a car parts supplier, and he's saying they're having trouble getting their stuff out to the States and vice versa. So I thought this was an important study to note for people on the importance of automobiles in economic progress. So again, not my opinion. This is Thomas Sowell. He's a leading economist. I highly recommend his work if you're not familiar with the name. He's phenomenal. I'm near the Roundabout Island Ironeers. Okay, take a snapshot. Take it. We got lucky. There's a FA. I didn't have to go to a scrapyard. The guy MacGyvered the car. It's all safe. It's all up the code. But he's just one of those guys that knows his stuff, knows how to tinker. And he saved me a boatload of cash. So thank you to Ken. Okay, so a second transportation revolution profoundly affected the development of urban and suburban communities in the 20th century, as well as many other aspects of life. This was the increased use of automobiles as mass production methods pioneered by Henry Ford drastically reduced the cost of cars, turning them from a luxury that only a few could afford into a means of transportation affordable by millions. Now, I think of electric cars as a luxury only few can afford. Most people can't afford a $40,000, $50,000 new car. There's some that are less, and they don't last as long. Parts are more expensive. So that's where we're at today. Could change, but this is the parallel I'm going to draw for you. Between 1910 and 1916, for example, the cost of the standard Model T Ford was cut in half. As of 2007, there were approximately 600 automobiles per thousand population of driving age in Western Europe, and approximately 900 per thousand. 90% of people at driving age had a car in the United States in 2007. Among the economic consequences of cars was that workers had access to a wider area to seek employment, and employers had a wider area into which to seek workers. Common sense, right? In Cincinnati, for example, a study found that most residents could reach 99% of the region's jobs within only 20 minutes by car. But they cannot reach even half the number of jobs by taking mass transit for twice as long, 40 minutes. This is nuts. And even with all our advanced transportation today, do you think that's much different? Like, you can hop on the LRT. I would. So it took my wife 40 minutes to get to work, which is what, 10-minute drive from here? 10-15-minute drive from here. So that's true for us. I don't know with LRT, maybe if you're on the direct route, it might be a little bit quicker. But if you got to walk or transfer, you're pretty much in the same boat.
It'd take me like
30,
40 minutes to bus to work from my place. And I'm on a main bus route, and it takes me maybe 10 minutes if I'm driving quick. So.
Did you just out yourself? If I'm driving quick.
Nothing. might have driven by a cop a little too fast this morning. Didn't pull me over. Good thing.
Got lucky.
Yeah.
It's okay. Oh, man. Okay, so a study in Portland, Oregon found that people with no high school, this is what I wanted to bring this up for, okay? A study in Portland, Oregon found that people with no high school diploma were 80% more likely to have a job if they had a car, and they earned an additional $1,000 a month compared to those that didn't. That same study found that getting a car enabled people to get a job more so than getting a high school equivalency diploma. So if you didn't have your high school and you went and got a high school equivalency diploma, you were still further ahead just getting a car. You would make roughly $1,000, not that wasn't the comparison, but you were making $1,000 more than if you didn't have a car. So that is the power of the automobile, and they're trying to get everybody on mass transit. But again, 99% of the people in the region could get to their job by 20 minutes in car, and less than half in Portland, Oregon could get there in 40 minutes. So by public transit. The economic importance of the automobile is demonstrated in places where automobiles are banned. One of the first automobile bans was instituted in 1959 in Kalamazoo, Michigan, where there was an attempt to revitalize its downtown areas. Where have we heard this before? By closing a street to automobile traffic. Didn't they try this in Toronto on one street?
Then Toronto on the one road, you can see it just by the highway for bikes.
Yeah, that's right.
Time for
In order to create a pedestrian mall to compete with suburban malls, the idea spread to other cities in decades ahead. Decades had passed before the mistake was obviously and its obvious negative consequences began to be corrected. Problem decisions by third party. This is one of the consequences of decisions being made by third parties who pay no price for being wrong. So we'll leave it there tonight. We'll come back to that a little bit more. Again, Thomas Sowell, Economic Facts and Fallacies, the man, the myth, the legend. I love Thomas Sowell. And one of the things I want to start doing more of, and we did early on in our broadcast, is reading from quality information from quality authors, quality experts, really. And so this is one of the things. I have a bunch of my favorite books, and I'm going to start bringing them up more and more and trying to relate them to today's events. So if we don't have any more questions or any questions, we're going to close off for tonight. They have done more than once in Cornwall, Ontario. Wow. I didn't think Cornwall was all that big, but it wouldn't surprise me. So if you're new to the show, make sure to like and subscribe. I don't like doing this, but I have to do it. Okay. So make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so that you're notified of when we're live. We live stream Mondays and Thursdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. If you like our work, we're selling hats. Message us at Diverge Media News on Facebook, or visit us at divergemedia.ca. You can donate there just directly, or you can message us through divergemedia@outlook.com, and then we can set up shipping. These are $30, no tax. We're basically just getting them out to get our name out so that you can be a walking billboard that looks sweet. So you guys know Doug's thinking about curfews. I have heard, I think we shared it on our Facebook page. They're talking about a 9 p.m. curfew here. They've just implemented starting Saturday, 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. curfew, I think is in Quebec. So I mean, this is the thing. There's going to be a lot of people that say, oh, but it's just for a little while. It's not. Remember when it was just a couple of weeks just to flatten the curve? Have people caught on yet? Like we can't let this continually happen. But unfortunately, it seems like people are not willing to really put their foot down, and it needs to happen on a lot of fronts, business owners and the like. If you don't have that support, it's kind of hard to change anything. So I imagine they're going to implement it, and it's going to go on a lot longer. So somebody, I think Australia did 3 months of lockdowns in Vic. That might be wrong there. Argentina has also had strict quarantines. I reached out to somebody today talking about that, and they still have positive cases. So again, this is not going to work. It's not the way to go, but that's it. Way to make your inches fall, buddy. All right. So I don't think we have any more questions. By January's end, we will all be in lockdown. More deaths are coming. It's cold and flu peak season. Yep, we're heading into the cold and flu season. I've said if we're going to talk about overflowing hospitals, we need to compare previous flu seasons, we've had a long time. So she's like, come on, get it done.
Again, if
No, that was my.
if you haven't already, go to divergemedia.ca, scroll down to the bottom, and subscribe via emails. You'll get it first.
And then you can get updates on all of our articles as soon as they're released. So, yeah, there is a story I'm following up on. Look for it later this week. It's going to take a little bit of time to develop, but you've likely heard of the overflowing morgues in London. I have a source, we'll leave it at that, that's in the industry. And I've been in discussion with them talking about their thoughts in his region, which is north of Toronto. They're not seeing an overflow. They're pretty slow, was his words. But in London, they have had a higher death rate, is what he told me. I'm trying to be very careful. I don't want to, right? The source here. So they reached out to some people in the area. Now his question is, I think there's 18 morgues in the area. I need to double check on all this. I'm going to follow up with these questions. And how many? The questions that need to be asked is, how many does each morgue hold? Why are they being held up? The suspicion that this individual had was that they're not being held up because there's such an influx, but rather like there is a higher amount in that area right now. But that's not the reason they think it's been held up. They think it's been held up because of different protocols around it and how they have to dispose of the bodies and potentially test them. In addition, things like if daycare is not available and if they come into contact with a person who is deemed COVID positive, then they have to go home, quarantine, different things like this. So it could be a staffing issue, but we know that it's likely not going to be followed up on by any other outlet. So we're going to follow up on it. It might be a week or two to get that out, but that's coming your way. So I think that's an important story because again, they're talking about overflowing morgues in London and having to use truck trailers. And so I don't know how much of it is optics or how much of it's needed. So we're going to try to get to the bottom of that for everyone here. So I'm done. We good?
Everybody.
Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you Monday and Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We'll see you next time.